She smirked. "You're so naive, he's just a friend." I stayed quiet. Little did she know her phone held every secret. The pictures, the videos, the explicit texts. When I finally revealed what I knew, her face went silent. I watched her world shatter. She thought she'd gotten away with her cheating. She was wrong. This is how I uncovered her shocking betrayal. Man, where do you even start with something like this? Looking back, the signs were there, but they were subtle at first, like static on a radio you're trying to tune out. My ex and I would been together for about 3 years, and things felt pretty solid for the most part. The sex had definitely tapered off though. That's probably the first thing anyone notices, right? We'd talk about it, and the explanation always felt reasonable enough. Our work schedules were a nightmare. I was on nights, she was on days. It made sense that we were tired, often just passing each other in the apartment. I wanted to believe it because what else was there? But then other stuff started creeping in. Tiny little cracks in the routine. She'd always been social, but suddenly staying late at work became a more frequent occurrence. Not just once a month, but a couple times a week. Then it was grabbing a drink with friends after work, which would turn into coming home late, sometimes past midnight. Weekends, which used to be our time to actually connect, despite the schedules, started filling up with more girls, nights, or catch-ups. I noticed a change in how she'd get ready for these outings too. More effort with the makeup outfits that were definitely more eye-catching than what she wore for a casual dinner with me. My gut started twisting. I tried to push it down, tell myself I was being paranoid, insecure. She's just feeling good about herself. She's making new friends. My brain was working overtime trying to rationalize every new piece of information. The night she didn't come home though, that was it. That was the line being drawn in the sand. I remember it vividly. It was late past 1 a.m. and I hadn't heard from her. I tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. A few minutes later, a text popped up: "Phone's about to die. Staying at friends' names. See you tomorrow." Just like that. No, real explanation, just a curt message. My mind immediately started running through scenarios. Why didn't she tell me earlier? What if her phone actually died but she could have borrowed her friend's? I tossed and turned all night. Every creak in the hallway made me jump, thinking it was her, but it never was. The sun came up and there was still no sign. She finally walked through the door mid-morning, casual as anything. First thing she did, straight into the shower. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, screen down. I stared at it. It felt heavy, like it held all the answers I was terrified to find. I knew it was wrong to snoop, a huge invasion of privacy, but at that point the quiet dread had become a roar. I need to know. I can't keep living with this uncertainty. My hand shook a little as I picked it up. Unlocked it. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but it didn't take long. Scrolling through her messages, I saw a thread with a name I didn't recognize: Tommy. The messages started innocently enough, just basic chat. But then they shifted. "Can't wait to see you. You looked incredible tonight." Then they escalated. Quickly. Flirty emojis, thinly veiled innuendos, and then just explicit. Details about what they were going to do, what they had done. "That was amazing last night." My breath caught in my throat. It felt like someone had punched me square in the chest. I scrolled further. Her camera roll. More pictures. Videos. Of them. Together. In the act. The blood drained from my face. My brain just kept replaying those words, those images. This is happening. This is actually real. All the little things, the late nights, the new outfits, the dying phone, it all clicked into place, forming a horrifying, undeniable picture. I was standing there, phone still in my hand, when the shower water stopped. My world had just shattered into a million pieces. My immediate instinct was to throw the phone at the wall, to scream, to confront her the second she stepped out. But then another thought hit me: what do I even say? How do I even start to process this? The sheer weight of the betrayal was suffocating. I needed to act, but I was frozen, reeling from the raw, undeniable proof. So Reddit, I'm asking you. In that moment when your entire relationship just blew up in your face with undeniable evidence, what's the first thing you do? How do you even begin to confront that kind of absolute, sickening proof? Do you explode? Do you try to keep a poker face and gather your thoughts? I was lost. The shower stopped. The sound of water fading out just amped up the silence in the apartment, making my own ragged breathing feel deafening. I could hear her moving around in the bathroom, probably toweling off. The phone was still in my hand, the screen still showing Tommy's messages. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it was going to burst out of my chest. This is it. There's no turning back. My brain was trying to process 1,000 things at once, the betrayal, the anger, the profound sadness, but also this weird, almost detached sense of duty. I had to confront her. I couldn't just pretend I hadn't seen it. She walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, humming a little tune. She stopped dead when she saw me, phone still clutched like a weapon in my hand, my face probably a ghostly shade of white. Her hum died in her throat. "What's wrong?" she asked, a tentative, confused look on her face. I didn't say anything, just held up the phone, angling the screen so she could see the open text thread. Her eyes flicked to it, then widened. The color drained from her face, mirroring mine. The towel slipped a little, but she didn't even notice. "Who's Tommy?" I managed to get out, my voice sounding flat, foreign to my own ears. She didn't respond immediately. Her gaze darted around the room as if looking for an escape hatch. Then came the deluge. First denial, "It's nothing, just a friend." Then a feeble attempt to minimize it, "It's just banter, you know how guys are." Finally, when I pushed mentioning the pictures and videos, I'd seen the full-blown breakdown. Tears, "Apologies please." She said it was a mistake, a lapse in judgment, that she was confused, that our schedules made her feel lonely. She swore it meant nothing, that she loved me. Her words tumbled out, a mix of genuine remorse and desperate damage control. I just stood there, letting it wash over me, but feeling absolutely nothing but the cold hard weight of what I'd seen. The specific details in those messages, the pictures, those weren't confused or lonely mistakes. They were choices. My immediate gut reaction was to pack my bags, tell her to figure it out and leave. But then the cold hard reality of our situation slammed into me. We had an apartment lease signed for another year. We had shared finances, bills that needed paying, and neither of us could realistically afford to live alone in this city on one income right then. My mind was a battlefield. One part of me screamed, "Get out. This is unforgivable." The other part, the very pragmatic, almost survivalist part, was doing mental math, how to break a lease, security deposits, moving costs, finding a new place, the sheer logistics of it all. It was a cold hard calculation that for a few agonizing days overshadowed the raw emotional pain. It wasn't about trying to fix us, it was about trying to survive without immediately bankrupting myself or creating an even bigger mess. So I made the stupid, foolish decision to try and make it work for the next year. It wasn't about love anymore, or trust, or even wanting to be together. It was a strategic retreat, a desperate attempt to delay the inevitable until we could disentangle ourselves financially. That year was hell. We lived together, but we were just roommates. The betrayal hung in the air like a thick fog. Every interaction felt forced. Every "I love you" from her felt hollow, and I couldn't bring myself to say it back with any conviction. Intimacy became a chore if it happened at all, a reminder of what she'd done with someone else. We'd talk about mundane things, bills, groceries, but never about us, not really. Not about the gaping wound between us. My goal was simply to get through the year without completely losing my mind, to navigate the practicalities until I could finally escape. I was living in a constant state of internal conflict every day, a reminder of the choice I'd made to stay, and the reasons why I couldn't yet leave. Reddit, I swear, trying to salvage something that was so fundamentally broken, for reasons that had nothing to do with genuine reconciliation, was one of the hardest things I've ever done. How do you live with someone who betrayed you so deeply, knowing you're only there because of practical chains, not emotional ones? Did I make the wrong choice by not walking out the second I found out, regardless of the financial hit? It felt like I traded immediate pain for a year of slow, agonizing torture. That year of playing house with someone who had shattered my trust felt like an eternity. Every day was a performance. We'd smile and nod in public, make polite small talk about groceries or bills, but the emotional chasm between us only grew wider. There was no real attempt to fix anything, just a quiet agreement to endure. My goal during that time had been simple: survive. Just get to the end of the lease, find a new financial footing, and then get out. But as the months dragged on, the sheer exhaustion of maintaining that facade of living with a constant ache in my chest started to outweigh even the practical necessity of staying. I remember one night about 10 months into that compromise year. We were sitting on the couch watching some random show, completely silent. She reached for my hand, a gesture she hadn't made in months. My body just tensed up. I didn't pull away, but I couldn't respond. Her touch felt alien, tainted. I looked at her, really looked at her, and it hit me with absolute clarity. This isn't just about the money anymore. This is destroying me. The practical reasons for staying had become a prison and my emotional well-being was deteriorating fast. The logic that had kept me there was crumbling under the weight of a year's worth of unspoken pain and resentment. I realized that my goal couldn't just be to endure, it had to be to heal. And healing wasn't possible while still tethered to the source of the wound. The conversation that finally led to the end wasn't dramatic, not like the initial confrontation. It was quiet, almost resigned. I initiated it carefully. I said something like, "Look, I don't think this is working. For either of us." She didn't argue. There was a faint sigh, a nod. I think she felt it too, the suffocating atmosphere of our fake life. We sat down and started to hash out the logistics. Who would get which furniture, how to break the lease early, where each of us would go. It was painful, yes, because it was the official acknowledgement of failure, but there was also this immense sense of relief, like a giant weight had finally been lifted from my shoulders. The dilemma of staying versus leaving was finally resolved, replaced by the daunting but freeing task of starting over. Breaking up was messy, as most breakups are, even without the added layer of betrayal. Dividing up a life that had been so intertwined for years, even a broken one, is a logistical nightmare. But we got through it. I found a new place, small but mine. I moved out, taking only my things, and started to build a new life brick by painful brick. The immediate aftermath wasn't some magical cure though. There was a lot of anger, a lot of resentment. I'd replay those messages, those images in my head, feeling the stab of betrayal all over again. But slowly, gradually, the emotional fog started to lift. I started to rediscover who I was without her, without the constant background noise of suspicion and hurt. I had to learn to trust my own judgment again, to forgive myself for not seeing the signs earlier and for staying longer than I should have. It took time, a lot of introspection, and a good amount of just living again. I learned that you can't force a broken thing to mend just because it's convenient. Some things are simply beyond repair, and the most courageous act is knowing when to let go. Now, years later, I've moved on. I've healed. The memory is still there, a scar rather than an open wound, a reminder of a tough lesson. I've learned a lot about boundaries, about listening to my gut, and about the difference between loving someone and being practical. So Reddit, for anyone who's been through something similar or is currently stuck in that compromise phase, what's the single most important thing you did to finally break free and genuinely start healing? And how do you learn to rebuild trust not just with others but with yourself after a betrayal like that?